everybody, and welcome to another edition of Browns Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski, and this is where we get you caught up on some of the latest news and tidbits tied to our favorite team in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns. And if you've noticed, this is not your typical Browns Latest episode. We are celebrating 10,000 subscribers today. We have crossed the threshold, so we changed the fit. We're going with the Judkins jersey. We got it, baby. The number 10 jersey. We're going with the hat, the Cleveland Browns winter hat. And look, we're even throwing in the Browns scarf and the Browns backers wristband. We got to go big. It's not every day you hit 10,000 subscribers, so we're going with the 10. The 10 for 10, baby. And then, hey, remember, Quinshawn's wearing it now, but one of the best quarterbacks to ever play for the Browns also wore number 10. Kelly Holcomb, a lot of people say he's probably the best to ever wear number 10 for the Browns. RG3 also wore number 10. Jordan Norwood wore number 10. Mike Pagel wore number 10. Brady Quinn. I got a great Brady Quinn story that I will share with you on another episode down the road. It has to do with Soda Pop Dave and a Cavs game. It is by far, it was to me, it's the greatest Brady Quinn. Every time I see or hear Brady Quinn, I think of this day. But we will talk about, that'll be another show. We'll talk about the Brady Quinn story another day. But Anthony Schwartz is another guy who wore number 10. And Eric Zier. Do you remember Eric Zier? Wore number 10 as well. And so we finally made it. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I never could have imagined getting to 10,000 subscribers, but we have made it, and I cannot thank you enough. Also, thank you to everyone who has liked our previous episodes and everybody who has become a member of the Browns Latest Dog Pound. I thank you so much. And then everybody who gets your comments down there in the viewer comment section, and everyone who has just supported our little show here since we started. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. And 10 for 10,000. So it was something else. When I saw it, I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was just very special, and it means a lot to me. I can't thank you enough. And now let's talk about the show. What's going on today, Dave? Get on with it. All right, we're getting on with it. 10 for 10,000. So the trade deadline is looming, but outside of Njoku or maybe Jerry Jeudy, there's one surprising name that's floating out there that the Browns might trade in order to build some draft capital. We'll talk about that. Now that the second half of the season is here, I want to know when Shedeur is going to get first team reps. One of the storylines heading into the Jets game on Sunday is us having to deal with their newest weapon. And then down in the viewer comments, the Browns front office can make this team a lot better. The only thing they have to do is watch Seinfeld. All right, well, we'll find out. We'll find out what is going on with that. Seinfeld's going to make the Browns better. I love it. All right, now, let's talk about our most tradable assets. And, I mean, you're here. This is as crazy as draft time, right? Because, you don't know who's lying. You don't know who's telling the truth. You don't know what's going on. So Njoku's on the block. Denver is apparently in the mix. They need a tight end. They're looking for a tight end. They want a tight end. They struggled with Houston yesterday. And so Njoku to Denver is the latest that I heard. But there's some other now. If you want to, as you're going through the day, here's the most tradable assets on the Browns. All you have to do is follow the money. This is just like the wire. The NFL works just like the wire. And so just follow the money. Here are your people on offense that will be free agents next year. Jerome Ford, DeAndre Carter, who's hurt, Njoku and Conklin, Batonio, Teller, Tevin Jenkins, Ethan Pochik. Now, that's pretty much our whole offensive line. So if they traded one of those guys, oof. But all of these guys will be free agents next year. Like, we're in a world of hurt with this offensive line. The planning behind this offensive line over the last 5 or 6 years has been awful. There's just nowhere to go. And all these guys are going to be free agents, and they're old, and it's just a complete mess. But there are some tradable assets for you. There's some on defense, too. You're not going to like the last guy on the list, I can tell you that much. On defense, there you go. Joe Tryon. You got Alex Wright, Cam Thomas, Shelby Harris, Devin Bush, Jerome Baker, Martin Emerson, who's hurt, Rayshon Jenkins, and then there he is, the android, Corey Bojorquez. He's a free agent next year. Not that the Browns would trade him, but expiring contracts are especially with the Browns, they just try to get under, they're fighting that cap and creating cap space and trying to do, and that's why. So then what pops up is this. Denzel Ward, the Browns are going to trade Denzel Ward. I'm like, this is insane. Somebody saying that Denzel Ward is going to be traded to Minnesota. And here's what I'm going to tell you. It's never going to happen. They're talking about to Minnesota for a third-round pick, but there is no way this could happen. And I'm going to show you why. Of course I brought pictures. I mean, we're celebrating 10,000. Of course there's pictures. So and again, follow the money. Denzel Ward is going nowhere because of his contract. And here you go. He has that 5-year extension in 2022 for $100 million. His base this year, they restructured it going into the season. And what they did was they did that so they could create some salary cap space. And so his base this year is basically 1.2. And then they created $18 million in cap space. But if the Browns were to trade Denzel Ward, the cap hit would be somewhere in the area of like $25 million. The Browns are not taking on that dead money. So if let's say we traded him to Minnesota for a third round, they'd pay to 1.2 and we're stuck with $25 million because it's all tied to his bonuses and incentives and all these things. We incur that cost. Denzel, I'm like, when I see this stuff, just like the other day with the guy who said they're going to trade Myles Garrett to the Eagles. And he's like, it's not coming from the Eagles, but I heard from a guy who heard from a guy who knows a guy who's related to a guy. Like, come on, man. That's about what this is. So the trade, the last hours before the trade deadline hits, it's as crazy as draft time when you just don't know what to believe. And so, but the easy thing to do, just follow the money. Just play it like The Wire. The Wire, one of the greatest TV shows in the history of TV shows. The Wire. Just follow the money. That's all you have to do to see how these deals are going to get worked out. So, but I thought that the Njoku to Denver thing made some sense. But then now you're hearing too, the Browns aren't going to do anything. The Browns are doing something. They're not paying Njoku again, and they're not going to keep him just so he can walk away. I mean, you got teams that need a tight end, and we don't need 2 tight ends now. We got Fannin. So Njoku is going somewhere. So now the other thing that should be going somewhere is Shedeur to the first team to get some reps because the second half of the season has started and Dylan Gabriel has not obviously lit it up, as they might say in the business. And so this is one of the, and I almost put this into storylines, but I'm like, it's not really a storyline for this game this week. This is a storyline for the second half of the season. Because the first question I'm asking is, when is he going to start getting reps with the first team? When are we going to start getting him ready to play? And it should start immediately, if you ask me. I mean, they've been sitting around all week, right? Figuring out the offense, right? Trying to figure out how to make it better. So, because what's worked in the first, what they thought was going to work in the first 8 games it's not even close to any success. And so you got to blow this up. And so whether it's changing play callers, which I'm all for, I think you change the play caller and Shedeur. You put Shedeur in there as well. I don't want to see Shedeur, and we're going to talk more about this in the viewer comments because this what happened in Cincinnati yesterday Joe Flacco is I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose, but Joe Flacco is making Stefanski look like a complete fool at this point. So I do not want to see our next quarterback with the same offensive coordinator and with Stefanski. Meaning Stefanski. Reese, we don't know what he can do calling the plays. Well, I want to see Reese calling the plays because Stefanski, he looks like a complete fool with what happened with Joe Flacco because he again, another stifled quarterback. Baker said it. Stefanski is the quarterback stifler, not the quarterback whisperer, the quarterback stifler. And you're seeing it once again with Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco should have won all of those games with Cincinnati, but their defense is brutal. Their defense blew that game again, letting Loveland catch that long pass. And so, after Flacco built that lead for him, like, it's crazy. This is what happened to Aaron Rodgers last year with the Jets. Like, he would get him a lead, and then the defense would blow it. So, Shedeur, first team reps, it's got to happen. And so now the Jets, right? We got to go to New York. New York. Got to go to the Meadowlands. They share it with the Giants. But the Jets were a mess, remember? And then they beat one of the teams that the Cincinnati defense fell apart against was the Jets. Got them their first win. And so for me, one of the storylines is, like, it's nice that they got their first win against the Bengals, but what's also nice is they had a bye week. So they really couldn't ride that momentum. And so, it's harder to ride momentum over 2 weeks than it is over a week. And so we'll see. We'll see if they can ride that momentum. Well, obviously, we don't want them to. But here's the thing that happened in that game. In not only did they rack up 500 yards and come back, it was a huge comeback, but they played more disciplined football. They had less penalties. They're the least amount of penalties they had all year. So they cleaned some things up. So I don't know if that's an effect of maybe Aaron Glenn is finally what he wants them to do is sinking in. But then, Aaron Glenn didn't come out right away and say Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback. I'm like, what are you doing, man? That's just a loser mentality. But whatever. You keep doing that, Aaron Glenn. Now, the other thing is, and this is what we teased at the top, they made a trade last week. They traded with the Eagles, and they brought in a wide receiver, John Mechie III. And so this is a guy who we have no idea how they're going to use him. And they've had, he got there last week. So it's not like he's walking in like our guy Campbell, who comes walking in and has to learn everything in like a day. He gets traded on a Wednesday, and he's got like 2 days to try and play defense. So he's got a little bit of time I'm sure they'll get some packages for him and get him involved. So that's the other storyline we'll be watching as the week goes on. And then how about Breece Hall? Like, everybody thinks they're going to trade him. Then the Jets come out yesterday and say, no, we're not trading him, which I wouldn't believe that as far as I could throw Breece Hall. But Breece Hall's averaging 5 yards a carry. I don't know why they hate on Breece Hall so much in New York. He's in the final year of his rookie contract, and they're saying it's going to take at least a third-round pick. So he may or may not even be on the field come Sunday. But he's got 18 rushes of 10 yards or more. That's the fourth most in the league. So, again, another formidable rushing attack that's coming at us here with Breece Hall. But they got Allen, too. So it's like, I think they're looking at the heir apparent. But, again, follow the money. They're not paying Breece Hall. And so they're going to stick with Braylon Allen. They're going to, okay, well, we got to get something for him. This is the same situation as the Njoku thing. The difference with Njoku is we already extended him once. We are not extending Njoku again. Njoku is like prime candidate number one to be traded, and there are teams out there that need a tight end. Now, the other storyline is, how long is this leash on Gabriel? How long is this going to last? Is the offense going to change? How different will the offense look as the week progresses? What are we going to hear? Are we going to keep hearing, I got to get better, it's not my focus? Or are we going to hear some real answers? That's a storyline for me. And then the defense. How long can the defense, I think the bye week came at the right time for the defense, because after, again, keeping us in that game and then having it all fall apart against New England because they can only last so long. And then when the offense just doesn't do anything, at some point you're just like, we got to let go because we're out of time. We're just never going to make it. We're never going to make it. And so that's happened a couple times to us this year. So how long can this defense hold on? The Jets are beatable, man. If we play defense the way we play defense. But again, it always comes down to, will the offense muster up some points? So those are some of the storylines heading into the game with the Jets, Jets. Now, coming out of the bye week, viewer comments, smoking hot. That's surprising. It's not surprising. And we're going to start with Brondo for Idiots. I'm not sure what the Brondo part is, but I know what idiots are because you're looking at one. Brondo for idiots, who says, I'm to the point, I don't care who they trade. They're not going to win with what they have until the Deshaun Watson contract is over. And there's a part of me that agrees with you there, Brondo. I know, here's the thing. Here's what I'll say. I don't want to admit it, but you have to admit it. And this is what they're doing. And this is why we talked about the other day, my worst fear. I think every Browns fan's worst fear is they're just waiting for this contract to go away. They're just going to try to get draft picks for people they want to get rid of. Unload, keep that cap space down. That's why Denzel Ward's not going. They're not trading anybody that's going to set them up with a bunch of dead money. It's not going to happen. Like I said, if somebody called, the Myles Garrett thing, Myles is going nowhere. If somebody called and said, hey, we'll pay all the cap space and we'll give you 3 first-round picks and we're going to, we'll throw in a KitchenAid, a Cuisinart mixer, that's the kind of deal it's going to take. It's, you have to, it's always about the money in these situations. And so you're right, Brondo, this Deshaun Watson contract is a big part of, what's happening right now. And you got to they got to create that space. You got to, Watson, that insurance money will come. That'll help. So that's what they're doing. I think everything is pointing towards the new stadium. And that's our worst fear, that they're just sitting on their hands waiting, including with firing the coach and firing the GM. They think that Haslam is just like, yeah, we screwed that up with the Watson thing. So you guys get a mulligan or two because of that. And it's a bad way to do business, if you ask me. 2 putts, 1 cup. Usually for me, it's like 5 putts, sometimes 6 or 7, 1 cup. But this is 2 putts, 1 cup. Who says, and this is a great take, he says, you're mistaken with the no leverage take. Remember what I said when Garrett came out and said he wants to be traded and ran up and down Radio Row at the Super Bowl, screaming up and down how much he hates Cleveland, doesn't want to be here anymore, we're not winning anything, blah, 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 blah. And I said that took away all of our leverage. That's why the Browns, you weren't going to get fair market value for him. But 2 putts, 1 cup counters that with you're mistaken. The leverage is created by all of the other teams that also want Garrett. For example, let's say you are the Eagles GM and you want Garrett, but you hear that Miami is interested. So are Washington, Dallas, and LA. Sure, Garrett wants on to Cleveland. But if you want him, you are competing against several other teams that also want him. So you better put together a better offer than theirs. That is where the leverage comes from. Does that make sense? It makes complete sense, and you're right. But you're banking on the fact that there are going to be multiple teams that want him. It's like when you put your house up for sale, right? And you're like, oh man, we're gonna get multiple offers. So we'll put it at this price. But I know we're gonna get this. I just know it. And then you put it on the market, and it's sitting there, and it's sitting there, and it's sitting there, and it's sitting there, and then eventually you go, ugh, man, we might have to drop the price. So that you're rolling the dice. I get what you're saying, 2 putts, but when a guy comes out to me, when a guy comes out and says, man, I want to get traded, I just don't think the team, it's better if you surprise teams, I think. If you call them and say, hey, we're looking to shop Myles, what can you offer? Different story than the guy up there screaming up and down, because they're going to, I just think that, I totally agree with you, 2 putts. But like I said, you're banking on that. At least if Myles stays quiet and you initiate, now then you start leaking it out to the other teams. Now you have full control. But when Myles is running up and down, screaming and yelling, I don't want to be here, right out of the gate, I think it softens the offers you could get. All right, Muscle Man 2025 says, watching the Bills and Chiefs yesterday was like watching a different sport than the Browns trash. Now, this is what we teased at the top. He says, remember that Seinfeld episode when George literally did the opposite of what he thought he should do? That's what the Browns need to do. Imagine the possibilities. So, there you go. Maybe that's all they did. When Barry's like, we're going to draft a undersized left-handed quarterback in the 3rd round, maybe if he goes, wait a minute, what's the opposite of that? No, we'll draft a 6'5" quarterback who's right-handed, and we'll take him in the 1st round. Maybe that would work out. Or if he'd have said, we're going to take an undersized quarterback who throws lefty in the 3rd round. Maybe if he'd have said, no, wait a minute. Shador's going to fall to the 5th round. We'll get 1st-round talent in the 5th round. Opposite. Go Oppo. Muscleman 25. You might be onto something there. Hey, the greatest talent evaluator. We got to mention him on the 10,000 episode. Come on. Thrasso, the greatest talent evaluator that only you guys know. He was on the show once, but Thrasso said watching Flacco in Cincinnati is blatant evidence that our offensive scheme is just so terrible. Now watching the Bills and the Chiefs, let's see what creativity on offense looks like. And that's exactly right. 100%. Joe Flacco, by no fault of his own, is making Stefanski look like a fool. He threw for over 400 yards yesterday. He had that game won for them, and the defense again blew it. It is unreal. No, it's not unreal. We knew this was going to happen. I told you this was going to happen. I said he's going to go to Cincinnati, and well, I mean, if these are games he should have won. He's going to become the comeback player of the year again, and then I said he'd take them to the playoffs, but they don't have a defense. They would be set up perfectly to go to the playoffs if it wasn't for their defense. So Flacco is just making Stefanski, look like a complete fool because it is proving the point all of the quarterbacks say. Quarterback stifler. He's a killing it. And that's why it's hard to completely come down on Dylan Gabriel especially after seeing what's going on with Flacco, because who knows how much better he might be, and I know I rail on him all the time, but I'm still not. You're undersized and left-handed. You're gonna like it. You can win some games with him, but you're not gonna win because of him. And so Joe Flacco, the Bengals are coming very close to winning. They should be winning because of him. That's the difference. William Ramalia says, getting a new quarterback won't help. Our offensive line sucks. Until we fix the O-line, every quarterback will fail. That's a part of it, and we just showed you the list. I mean, our whole, they're all expiring contracts. They're old. They're all going to be gone. Like, this is in complete shambles, and that's on Barry. How do we not plan for this over the years? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then, we decide we're just going to go to Dollar General and look in the bargain bin, and find guys like these guys that are washed up, Robinson and these other guys, Conklin, who can't, he's hurt all the time, can't even stay on the field like ever. And so that's what we get. That's our offensive line. It's a complete mess. But you're right, William. It is not a good situation, our offensive line. And we will end with Jason Irving, 5747, who simply says, congrats on 10,000 followers, Grizz. And Jason Irving and all of you out there, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for the support you show our little show, and hopefully you have a little fun. I strive for actual and factual and throw in some infotainment along the way. Hopefully you like the fit, the 10 jersey. Look, get the Judkins in there. You got Judkins in there. Like, it's a good one. RG3, Haley Holcomb, also those guys too. So, but all right, thank you so much. Jets week, baby. Here we go. Football's back in Cleveland. Man, oh man. It's just tough. Like, what do you want this team to do? There's so much drama. But we will be here to sort through it all as we are every single day. Thank you so much. Thank you for 10,000. Thank you for joining us today. Go Browns! We'll see you next time. Let's go.